Good morning, this is John, AB0O. I am the K0GQ repeater operating trustee for the Raytown Amateur Radio Club. And we are at the Raytown Water Company water tower, the site of our repeater. So I give you a quick tour of the new repeater cabinet layout. The new 2-meter repeater that we ordered last month is in operation in the cabinet. So that was installed about half an hour ago. Just as a little bit of a history, peek into history here, this is the repeater cabinet as it appeared at the beginning of this year. Both repeaters were basically slung to the door on a shelf with zip ties and steel straps. The connectors to the repeaters were damaged because they were carrying the weight of the patch cables, and some of them were rubbing against the edge of the repeater. A lot of dust in here because unfiltered air was being drawn in through the bottom. There's only a grill vent here at the top for air to escape, so a lot of this dust settled in here. The batteries that were the emergency power batteries down here were not operating anymore, and they were split and leaking, so got rid of those. So if we look in the cabinet now, a little bit of a different layout there. So now the door, as you can see, the door is just a door. The shelf is gone, and the inside of the repeater is pretty simple. The layout is logical, I think. The repeaters are now on a sliding shelf that carries the repeaters, and so with one finger you can just pull these out, and if you want to work on cabling, that sort of thing, you can. Otherwise, the capacity of this shelf is 100 pounds. It's loaded to about 45 right now, so it's very convenient to use. You just push it back with one finger, and that's all there is to it. So both repeaters, identical Yaesu DR2Xs. 50 watts output each. Both of them are full duplex or full digital repeaters. So the bottom one, 440, is operating analog and fusion as it always has. The top one is currently set up for analog only on 2 meters. Below that you have the duplexers here, 440 duplexers, 2-meter duplexers. They were retuned in July and August by myself and Lee K0LW. And so we got those very finely tuned, I think. Down below here is the power supplies. UPS power supply, 120 volts for the 2 repeaters. Over here is the 12-volt power supply and charger for the emergency power batteries. So if power fails, then both repeaters will be fed with 12 volts. And when that happens, both repeaters go down to 20 watts output. The cabinet is now ventilated with a filtered input at the bottom here, and the fan is now drawing hot or warm air off the upper zone of the cabinet through this fan. That's for summer. In the wintertime, there is a hot air blower down here. It's kind of a mild, not a very strong one, but enough heat to heat the cabinet. And it's operated by a thermostatic outlet that turns on at 45 and turns off at 55 degrees. So that should keep the cabinet at a good temperature for the winter. Up at the top here is a document shelf. 100% of the documentation for the repeater is in this shelf. I've created a manual here with all of the auxiliary equipment that's in the repeater cabinet. For instance, documentation on the duplexers, tuning procedures for the duplexers, that sort of thing is all in here. Information on the diplexers and response curve, the technical information for the equipment is all in here. For the HRI 200 Wires X node, which is here but not in service for future use, I didn't reprint the manual for that. There's a 100-page manual for that, so we can go and get that online. The second diplexer that will be used for the 440 antenna up on the tower is here. So moral of the story here is all of the documentation for the repeater equipment is all here. All of the extra toys that belong to the club are in here. I have nothing at home in terms of documentation or extra equipment. It's all here. Each repeater has a touch screen for programming. These screens will go dark after 10 minutes. When you want to bring them back up to life, you can press setup here, and there's a password to bring each screen up back up to operating screens. So that's a level of security. The cabinet itself is locked with a combination lock. So the combination for this lock, as well as the combination passcode for the screens, is known only to the repeater trustee and to the president of the club for security reasons. Access to the tower here, the tower site, is restricted to people that are authorized by the president of the club as well, for liability reasons. And in addition to that, each repeater has 2 receivers. The second receiver I've configured as a control frequency. So it is a control, each repeater has a control frequency, and I can control basic functions, turn the repeater on, off, high power, low power, whatever, via DTMF tones or digital tones or digital codes via that control frequency. And that control frequency and the tones and codes are also known only to myself and to the club president. So if for some reason the repeater trustee became unavailable, the president can assign a new trustee in a matter of minutes just by providing them with the codes for accessing the cabinet and the repeater itself. So that's pretty much the tour. Oh, the microphone that you see here is a hand mic that can be plugged into each repeater, because these repeaters can also be used as base stations if you want to do that, or they can be used to record voice messages and that sort of thing. So hopefully that gives you an overview of the repeater site, and thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you and see you on the meeting this evening at the monthly meeting. 73.